I can fix it. Um, Restream has been giving me grief, and I've checked my settings, and they seem okay. So I don't know what they're doing. Every day is an adventure, as I have always said. Anyway, Summer Gould and I are going to have a nice talk. We're going to go. We're going to go into some of her background and see how she got to be such a direct marketer. But for now, she posted an article the other day, 10 tips for the new direct mail climate. I'm not exactly sure what that climate change is, but whatever. She mentions that there's going to be a postal increase in July of 2022, January of 2023, and July of 2023. I can tell you one other secret. It won't be the last one. It'll be the next ones, but it's not going to be the last. I've been doing mail since 1981, as a direct marketing consultant, and there's always a postal increase in the offing, and if there isn't, then there's a postal rate review. Okay, how to save on postage. First, clean your list. To remove bad addresses. You got to be a little careful with what you call a bad address, because most of the time what we mean by a bad address is somebody moved away. But one of the first things Vic Hunter taught me was that the house chooses the occupants. So the fact that someone moved away does not necessarily mean that the people who moved in behind them are not good prospects. You always have to think about that. And in business to business, just because you mail through the front door doesn't mean you shouldn't always also mail to the ship to. And what about recipients? When you give a gift to somebody, of course, the buyer of the gift should be remailed. Should the gift recipient be remailed? Well, not the first day, right? And Keith in Phoenix is saying that yes, national change of address. I'm explaining how just because someone moves doesn't mean the old address is worthless, right? Test it. Always test it. Test the ship to versus the mail to. There's a lot of ways. What a good address can be really good. The other thing is that like Cabela's used to mail you for 12 months. You'd buy fishing, and then they'd mail you camping and hunting and footwear and turkey and bow hunting and all the special catalogs, and you'd get 12 catalogs through the year and until you finally got around to fishing again. And what we explained to Dick Cabela was that if somebody bought a muzzleloader or some high-ticket item, they might not buy for a while, but they were still a hunter. And so, as John Worth taught me, you're pretty much always a woodworker, and sometimes you have money. So you have to be really careful about who is a bad address. Now, of course, there's also undeliverable addresses, and you can check that, and you should have some minimum hygiene cleansing. But be careful on, other people say, oh, got a cool Amazon Kids catalog. I didn't get one, not so far. I wonder if Katie will get one. She's a Prime member, so maybe the style consultant will get one. But the we do merge purge if we have multiple lists, and oftentimes we never mail the multis. We get net name agreements, and a multi name is oftentimes much more than twice as valuable. So I always advocated saving the multis and mailing them a couple weeks later a second catalog, and very, very effective. So a lot of these things are proverbs in the direct mail industry, but they're not always true. Other than that. Okay, I did learn a lot here. Lumps, you have to be careful with lumps and coins. We were talking about a mailing where we were going to put some gloves in it, and then we were going to add something that shook around. And Paul, the printer, said maybe we could put like an American flag in there for Buy American or something, and I thought that was a great idea. I didn't know that darker paper stock could violate and ruin postal optical character readers, but I found that out now from Summer. Also, you can mess up the layout so that the address block falls outside of the OCR read area, and that could cost you twice as much. And of course, some of these mistakes are just because you're not getting enough help. So get give Summer a call. She's available on LinkedIn, of course. 5 ways to increase response rates. Again, targeting, yeah, but you have to, again, there's a trade-off. You don't want to just mail to the 10 people that you're sure to get an order from. The fight in modeling and targeting and segmentation is always to mail as many as are above your target response rate. So, and there's a lot more average lists than there are exceptional lists. That's one of the weird deals about statistics. Make sure you're only using a segment of your data that the offer applies to. You have to be very careful about that because, most modelers will say, well, we'll clean out the bad names. We'll pay for our services by removing the junk. But some of that junk has gold in it, and it's really a tricky deal. I recommend my book if you want to understand that trade-off. Create a clear and concise offer. I would say test offers. Did she use the word test here? No, should have used the word test. Always keep testing because sometimes one word change can do 20 or 30% better. I've seen 40% improvement just by the picture I put on the front page of the catalog. No other changes across the board. 600,000 piece test, 40% lift. Okay, so always be testing. Size, If you've had reasonable success with a 5 by 5, 5.5 by 5.5 by 8.5 postcard, test, here it is, there's a good word, a 6 by 11 card and see if it catches more attention. What it costs you in dollars could get it back in response. Now, I got one the other day. I think I put it right in the trash as it was just terrible. They just filled up that 6 by 11 area. They completely filled it with stuff, and it was unreadable. I'm trying to remember what it was for. It was like lawn care or something, but it was just horrid. We recommend staying in the letter size and the letter postage rate category to keep your postage costs down. But again, test it. My daughter, not the style consultant, was doing mailings into South America, and I know that they have a little more privacy issue with mail because people do read your mail as it's coming and stuff. And I said, why don't you test a number 10? And she said, well, it's a lot more expensive. I said, well, it's not a lot more expensive, but it's somewhat more expensive. Why don't you test it? Have you ever tested? She said, no. Well, they got a 400% increase in response by putting it in a number 10 envelope inside there, looking much more professional. And they were marketing a convention, so it was a high-ticket item. Frequency. Yeah, Jack Miller told me this. He said, back in the 70s when inflation was going rampant, we decided rather than sending our annual catalog, we would start sending monthly flyers. And we thought people would just get annoyed, but what it did was totally change our business. He said, people started to think of Jack Miller was the founder of Quill. He said people started thinking of us as a regular supplier for their office supplies rather than somebody to look to when they couldn't get it locally or with their regular supplier. Always test lots of ways to respond. I was going to do an article on QR code backlash, but that's mostly with restaurants. If there's a way to simply take an order without a QR code and making me wade through your little menu on my little teeny phone, by all means, you should. But some people like the phones, and it isn't the case that I can just look to my right and talk to you if I'm trying to buy from your website. So QR codes are a must test on your response device. Be very clear that there is a response device, and thank you for that, Summer. I just wanted to get over to this one because I promised yesterday I would. Tara Weiss talks about how the direct mail has taken itself out of the Stone Age and figured out a lot of different ways to connect with customers. The U.S. Postal Service reported steep declines in mail volume during the pandemic. And the USPS, not that there's anything wrong with it, keeps promoting the most flashy, crazy, expensive. Look here. I showed this to the style consultant the other day. This is Irresistible Mail. It's a whole binder. They sent this to me one time. It's a binder of the most expensive mailing pieces you'll ever see. And it's beautiful And it's super, super expensive. I can't even open it. It's so complicated because they're all connected in different ways, and they got CDs. And it's like, yeah, every one of these is probably $20 per piece, and yet we're fooling around with how to save postage on a mailer versus a number 10. Okay, the post office has to get their head in the game and say, how do we make postcards more effective? How do we make mail more effective? How do we make direct marketing part of the equation? But they don't. Anyway, retailers are now turning to direct mail as a way to retain and grow relationships. You should also always have multi-tier cost per contact. You should have some more engaging content than just email or banner ads on my phone or Facebook ads. Once you get me as a customer, you should absolutely for sure start sending something that I can connect with and value and maybe set aside and enjoy later. And that's one of the virtues of mail, that it's it's way more expensive. Tara says, when you're paying 50 cents per message on a mail compared to 50 cents per 1,000 messages via digital, you have to make sure it's going to somebody that wants to receive it. Liz Dolinsky. Okay, and she's Luna Lago's chief growth officer, she told Adweek. Okay, but she's on the right track. But the issue is, if someone spent hundreds of dollars with you, and all you can do is keep pounding them with a penny email or a 1,000th, a 100th of a cent digital ad, you're really not telling them why you value them. So consider sending them, even swag or samples or something like that, as a way to elevate the relationship and show that you value them for their hundreds of dollars of order. I got this snippy checkout girl the other day at the Piggly Wiggly, and I wanted to say to her, I calculated that I've spent at least $150,000 in this store, and you really should be nicer, because I have a lot of other stores I can go to. And it's way more. It's more like 200,000, because $100 a week with kids, for 30 years of kids being there. Yeah, sure, easy. Anyway, have a great day. Like and share, comment. I really enjoy your comments. Postcard rate for larger sizes now. Oh, yeah, really? Postcards they're gonna charge more for the large. Well, they should. Check it out. Talk to a professional. Absolutely. That's what I've been trying to say this whole show today. Keith says, talk to a professional. And Keith is at the Market Builder down in Phoenix. So if you're in the Southwest, they're the place to go. They didn't pay me for that. Nice little plug. The Market Builder. Members of WDMA.org. Sometimes they come to the meetups, but they missed the last one.